Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Block, and this counseling brief is on 7 essential active listening skills, which are key to building rapport, developing relationships, and basic communication. It's really amazing just how many helping professionals do not implement these basic techniques. They are based on person centered theory, which I describe in another video, and everybody in the helping profession should be well grounded in these techniques. So, in this video, I'm simply going to go through the list of 7 and describe each one. As I reiterated in my person centered video, when you are truly attempting to actively listen to someone, it's best to limit your questions as much as possible. If you do ask questions, use open ended questions rather than the yes no variety. This can help foster unconditional positive regard because questions, believe it or not, unintentionally tend to be conditional in nature. They are often about what we want to know and do not allow the student or client to fully express themselves and tell their story. So let's go through the list. First, we have minimal encouragers. Now, these are simply verbal prompts that let the individual know you are listening. It might be as simple as a, wow, that's exciting, or, okay, I see, or good for you, way to go. Usually these are combined with appropriate use of, facial expressions and body language. We use these frequently all the time when we're engaging in conversation. It's the simplest form of active listening. It's very important to show expression when you're doing this. The second technique is also a simple technique, and this is called echoing. Here we take an important word or phrase that the individual has said and highlight it by repeating it back. They might be talking about how they enjoyed a home cooked meal, and you might say, a home cooked meal. Or the fact that they walk to school every day. Oh, you walk every day? See, this is good to use on occasion, but you don't want to overuse this one where you sound like a recording. Echoing is part of mirroring and does convey empathy and also just the fact that you're listening. The third active listening technique is the use of observations. Now, take in what you observe in the student's nonverbal behaviors, their posture, facial expressions, tone of voice, speed of talking, even their use of silence. When you attempt this, do a little bit of mirroring where you are matching their emotional intensity. If they're excited, you should be excited. If they're disappointed, you're disappointed. Oh, that's really too bad. Now, take the totality of the person's communication into consideration. If they appear somewhat jittery, you might say, you seem a little nervous. They might be telling you everything's okay, but you can see them slouch forward or express sadness or something that's different from what they're telling you. I want to be transparent with the student. You tell me everything's okay, but you're slouching forward, you have tears in your eyes. See, I'm not going to interpret this for them, but I am going to state my observations. And if I am building trust and rapport, hopefully they will be transparent with me and let their guard down a little. The fourth is encouraging and validating. This is taking minimal encouragers to the next level, where you support the student by offering words that demonstrate your understanding, interest, and positive regard in response to what they're saying. You might say, I really think that's great that despite the problems you've had, you continue to connect well with your parents. That seems to be really important to you. You see, I'm encouraging the student while also validating their efforts. The fifth technique is probing. This technique involves statements that encourage the individual to keep talking without me asking a bunch of questions. I might say, you mentioned that you enjoyed your work, but that your coworkers don't feel the same way. It seems like you want to explore that a little more. See, the emphasis is on what they want to tell me, not what I want to hear. Also, no questions. I'm not asking them 20 questions, but I will likely get a more in depth response from this probing technique. The sixth technique is probably the most important, and that is paraphrasing. Rephrasing key ideas that the student has expressed to communicate your understanding of a situation. So it's a reflection of what's been stated or implied. Periodically, you will give the individual your understanding of what they just said. Maybe the student has just told me a short story of how their friends deserted them. After listening, I might say something like, so it sounds like you went to this location to meet your friends, but they didn't show up. After waiting for a long time, you decided to call them to see what happened. Am I right? So I'm simply restating what's been stated or implied, usually in an abbreviated response. And then we move on and let them continue their story. You want to use this technique many times throughout because you also want to check for understanding. If I'm just sitting there nodding and throwing out some minimal encouragers, I'm not fully engaged. And eventually they're going to pick up on this. The seventh technique is reflecting feelings. This too is extremely important. Use statements, not questions, that reflect the emotions the student is conveying. Never say, and I repeat, never say, how does that make you feel? That's the opposite of empathy. If I understand you, I can see how you might feel. It seems that you're really disappointed that your friends didn't show up. And now you're a little angry that they haven't contacted you. See, when you reflect feelings, you convey empathy. And if you happen to be wrong or a little off, the individual can correct you. They might say, no, I'm not really angry, I'm just confused. Oh, okay, you're more confused than angry. I think it's important here to brush up on your feeling vocabulary. You can actually Google a list of feeling words. This can be helpful. When you work with the little ones, you can use the charts with the faces on them, and they can point to how they might be feeling or how they might have felt at one time. This can be very effective for the nonverbal students as well. Now, there are more active listening techniques than the ones I have provided. I may do another video on those later, but start with these basic techniques and learn them well. Practice on your friends and family. I promise they work, and you will see it for yourself. Well, I hope you got a little something out of this and something that you can use in your professional practice and even your personal life. Thank you for listening.